in this tough economy, you are going to play the long game. You are going to get out and you are going to connect with your community, whether you like connecting with community or not. I would recommend you do it. Hi there. Welcome to the Thriving Dog Business Podcast with me, Sherry Boyer, the 7-figure dog business owner. Hi, Sherry Boyer here. Today, I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit hard to talk about, but we have to talk about it. It's almost 2024. You may be listening to this in 2024. We're in the middle of a changing economy, and I'm going to talk about which dog business owners are going to make it and who is not, and how you can be one that does. But before I do, make sure you go to 4dayprofitrace.com. That's number 4, dayprofitrace.com for my free diagnostic short mini course so you can make more money without working so darn hard. That is 4dayprofitrace.com. So this episode is sponsored by connectexperts.io. That's experts with an X. Connect, X-P-E-R-T-S.io. At Connect Experts, we help busy dog business owners get more leads and convert them without having to spend money they don't have on expensive ads. Go to Connect Experts, that's experts with an X.io to learn more. Alrighty, so the topic people don't want to talk about in public, but are talking to me about privately all the time is the economy. Now, I'm recording this podcast in 2023. We're heading into the year 2024, and there has been massive changes in our world really since 2020. And I'm not going to discuss any of those, but any of you who are still alive, that's terrible, will know exactly what I'm talking about. And now we're having an inflationary period and things happen, like interest rates for buying houses went up, interest rates for buying cars went up. Anybody who's bought food at a grocery store or gas or diesel for a vehicle understand this. And also like paid utilities, right? So rents have gone up. It is more expensive to buy a house now than it has been in a very, very long time. And so things are a little bit scary. And I have so many business owners reaching out to me going, what am I going to do? So the ones who have not planned for this and kind of made it through really well, actually, during the pandemic, are right now going, what the heck am I going to do? So not everybody, a lot of people have some very successful strategies, but when people are in crisis and they are really worried, they reach out for help. And so I have people reaching out for help a lot. And I hear some of the similar stories, the same stories over and over again. So what happened if you were a dog trainer during the pandemic is if you shook a tree, a puppy fell out of it with a person who had money to give you. Like, here, take my dog, train it. And so you could pretty much charge anything you wanted. And there was just a steady stream of dogs. Well, as many people know, and if you don't, then you probably need to be in the news or read the news a little bit. I don't recommend it, but a little bit would help. Interest rates started going up as we spent too much money. We spent too much money during that pandemic, the government did, and the only choice was for interest rates to go up. So people stopped having almost free money at their disposal. We had never had really in the history of our country, interest rates as low as they were during the pandemic. It was almost free money to buy a house. And so people had a little bit of excess money, and now they don't. And so what we're seeing in the dog training industry is not as many people reaching out, or when people are reaching out, they are more hesitant to spend more money. I'm not saying that the money isn't there, because I have a lot of dog trainers that I work with who are doing really, really well. But that's because they have some really solid foundational pieces in place that maybe others didn't, because it was really simple money. So right now we have to do some different strategies and play what I call a little bit of a longer game in this place. So for the daycare, boarding, grooming, pet sitting, dog walking industry may be a little different, but people will not be, they're traveling. So this year and last year, they traveled more than they did in 2020, 2021, of course, because now people can travel more. But what they're spending on travel is going down. The number of times they're traveling is going down. And people are thinking a little bit more about things that may not have seemed like such a luxury before, like boarding a dog at a place that costs more money, or doing dog daycare. And so even so groomers are not having such a problem. I have a lot of opinions about the grooming industry. I think everybody should charge more money than they do. And I think everybody should have all their doggy clients on a subscription. Just my opinion. But people who've been in the industry want to argue that with me. I'm like, well, the people that I've had do this are doing really well. So the thing with groomers is they're almost like veterinarians. It's almost impossible to get into one right now. So they're in a better position than most because, well, they might not agree with me because a lot of groomers are overworked and burnt out. That is a hard manual labor job, right? So, but we have to talk about some different strategies for the long game here. And what we're going to see in this next year is going to be kind of like what happened in the 1980s. And most of you were not around doing business in the 1980s, but it was hard. Interest rates for homes were at 12%. I just found in my mother's some stuff after my mother passed away, found documents from the homes they purchased in the early 80s, and it was 12.5% interest, right? So it was a little bit of a different game back then, but there wasn't as much money running around the economy. I personally my business went through the 2008, 2009 recession. So I've been through a very bad time in my business, and I know that I had sticking power because I made it through, but I thought I was barely going to make it through then. Like we had, my landlord laid off all 48 of his employees once, and I could not make my rent for a year. So I paid him what I could, and then I ended up having to pay that rent back. So we have to get a little creative here. So I have been through this, but it was different then. It was a purely housing related crisis. This is a crisis. I think it's a crisis in spending on all levels for people, for housing, for food, for transportation, all of that. So how are you going to make it in this tough economy? You are going to play the long game. You are going to get out and you are going to connect with your community, whether you like connecting with community or not. I would recommend you do it. I would recommend you do the boots on the ground thing where if you have not connected and networked locally, all of you run local businesses, that you take a minute to do that. Now, these days, we don't have to do it by going and knocking on doors. We can do this on social media by direct messaging people, creating referral networks potentially. And the other thing, let me just talk about QR codes for a minute. The pandemic trained us, I don't have a picture of them, but the QR codes trained most people to know how to use a QR code. I was just in Dallas for a couple of conferences, and I could not believe QR codes were everywhere. In my hotel, in the elevator, here's the QR code for tipping your housekeeping staff. Here's the QR code for ordering from the restaurant. Here's the QR code for all of the local restaurants. When I was at the restaurant, here's the QR code for the menu. They were everywhere. If you are a dog business right now and you do not have a QR code, if you have a building, a facility, QR code on the side of your building, where does the QR code go? It goes to your website, which has no gates on it. It's very easy for people to find a way to contact you. If you don't have a building, but you have a vehicle, QR code on your vehicle, where does that go? To your website, where it's easy for people to contact you. Do you have a shirt that you're running around with? You should be branded everywhere you go. If you have a fun saying on the back, a fun saying, I don't know, some cute dog saying, QR code to your website. Everywhere you go, you should be branded. We had a few years there where people were like, oh, all I have to do is spend a lot of money on ads and everything's fine. Well, it's more expensive to do ads right now. And if you have that much extra money, that's pretty cool. But if you have money for ads, you should also be playing the boots on the ground long game for this. The people who have more connections have a bigger referral network and are communicating with the other businesses in the area that could be potential like referral sources. They don't have to be dog related businesses. They could be bars that have an outdoor area. They could be cafes that have an outdoor area. They could be, there's so many ways that you can connect and create such that when anybody needs something, who is the person they think about? Who is the business they think about to refer? Like the stuff we used to have to do before social media was around, before like a lot of people were sending emails out, we knew people locally. Well, every one of you has a local business. Every one of you. And so your local business should know the other local businesses in the area, because when the bullpucky hits the fan here, who is going to remember who to recommend to who? It's going to be the people who are out there who haven't been hiding. So get out there. Put your name out there somehow. QR codes are the thing now. I did not know how to use them in 2020. And I stood outside of a business and some girl came out of a car in sweatpants. She's like, "You don't know how to get in there, do you?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Honey, you have to change." She was like 12. She called me honey. "You have to change the settings on your camera on your phone." Just grab my phone. So let me do it for you. Here, now do it. I'm like, "Oh, that's how you do that." Okay. So I also have a free Facebook group called Dog Business Success Community. And I welcome you to join the community there. It's very supportive. And I have more free trainings and some amazing interviews with very successful dog business owners. Some are on building their third and more facility. Many of them millionaires. Most of them started out with absolutely nothing. And so just go to Facebook and join my group, Dog Business Success Community. So you got to think a little bit outside the box on some of this stuff and be kind of a promotions person. And if you're like, "Well, that place only refers to that place," that's fine. Why don't you, as a business owner here, give this business that only refers to this place, why don't you give them a Google review? Why don't you give them a good Google review that came from your business? Why don't you do that for all the businesses in your area? From your Google My Business, now it's called Google Business, what's it called? GBP. They changed it from GMB, Google My Business, to GBP, Google Business P Places, something like that. Google Business. Don't make fun of me because I hate the fact that they changed the name. Anyway, that's your maps listing. It's one of the most important things on earth right now to have a really kitted out Google Maps listing with FAQs on it and loads of pictures, loads of videos. Have your customers upload videos and pictures. But then the secret sauce to this, and usually I only teach this stuff to my clients. So you guys are getting a little bit of an inner circle hint right here that is huge. Review other businesses from that login, because it'll have your business name will come up to review them, even if you've never been there. Now, if you've heard bad things about that business, do not review them. But if you've heard, and if you're in a local area, I'm sure you've heard of so many of the businesses locally. If you've heard good things about them, give them a good review. Piques their interest, right? So I want you to start thinking outside of the box a little bit. We are going to be talking in another episode about subscriptions and monthly recurring revenue being the basis of everything right now going forward. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but if your business has subscription revenue built in, and you can build subscription revenue into almost any kind of business, including all dog businesses, then you are going to be sitting prettier than the businesses who are relying on people to come in, what we call at need. They need the service now, so they're coming in. They're having their fence repaired. They're coming in for daycare. They're going on a trip. They're coming in for boarding. Whatever it is they need at the moment. Well, that doesn't make it very easy to plan, to profit, to plan for the future for you and your business to be able to pay your team. So hopefully you've been able to take some hints out of what I've talked about now, but I'm going to tell you, the people who are consistently marketing, and marketing doesn't have to be spent using ad dollars, making reels on Facebook, making reels on Instagram, not TikTok, unless you've figured out the secret to local marketing with TikTok. Where the people are is where you're going to be, but also getting your face out there, your vehicle out there in your area so people start to remember you. You know, in advertising, it used to be that they would say that somebody had to see your ad 7 times before they would buy. Do you know how many times somebody has to see you or be reminded of you, either in an email nurture sequence or a text nurture sequence, or also seeing your vehicle out, being out there with dogs, teaching something important at the elementary school to the kids, maybe teaching something at a church, wherever there are people, go teach. and tell them about how important it is to do certain things for their dog. Get your QR codes out there. These days, it is over 25 times that somebody may have to see or hear about your business before they will buy. I just recently bought a skincare product off of Facebook, a Facebook ad. I don't buy much off of Facebook ads, but I have been, get this, I don't know how much money this company spends on ads, but I bet it's a lot. 2 years. 2 years of ads I kept seeing, and I finally bought a product. And then I bought it. I was like, oh my God, I love this product. So I bought another one. And no, I'm not going to tell you what the product is because that's not the point of this. But it took 2 years of me seeing that ad before I made a decision to buy something. If you have been, and most of us have been really lucky the past 3-4 years or several years, if you didn't go through 2008, 2009, you don't understand this. But if you did, you do. If you have just had people, oh my God, I need that service. I've heard about them. Boom, they give you money. That is not happening as quickly now as it did. So how are you going to get them to give you money? You're going to keep showing up in their world somehow. And you do not have to spend money on ads to do this, although if you have some, that can be helpful. But you've got spending money on ads is like that's like digging a hole in the ocean and like throwing money in it. It's like, ooh, if there's not a good strategy set up, that can be a difficult one. I'll spend a lot of money on that. If you can't hide anymore. You cannot hide in 2024. This is why I'm doing a podcast. I am really good at hiding. To get me to be on a video is almost impossible. I have had to practice to be on a video. My assistant is here right now in the background supporting me on this because it was that difficult to get me to show up on a video. It's uncomfortable for me, but I'm getting out of my comfort zone because I want people to make it in this economy. It is no joke. We have more dog daycares and more dog boarding facilities closing, shutting their doors. People are exhausted. They're working too hard. They're not making enough money. They were not business people when they started out. Unfortunately or fortunately, I wasn't either. When I first had my business, oh my goodness gracious, I did not know how to make money. I knew how to take care of dogs, but I knew that if I wanted to not default on my $96,000 a year lease, that I had to figure it out. And so I did in the midst of a tragedy along the way. I'll share that with you at some point. But the thing is, we're seeing it all over the place. I get screenshots all the time. This business closed. This business closed. This business sold. They were done. They've been trying to sell it for 3 years and they never made enough profit year over year. Because if you're going to sell, you need to make profit year over year in order to actually make money on the business. Your blood, sweat, and tears doesn't matter to someone who's buying the business. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's true. I've sold a business. I sold my dog daycare boarding and training business in 2018. I went through that process. So if you're thinking of selling, then the facts are you better be making some money, and not just money that is top line. You want to have money left over, the bottom line. You want to have net profit. But people don't want to talk about this publicly, but people are closing their doors. They are stopping the business. I have talked to several dog trainers recently who just went and got a job. They're like, I do not have what it takes to stick this out. So if you have what it takes to stick this out, you will get more money than you can even imagine. So did you know, I'm going to quote this wrong, but there was a time when there was a depression in the United States of America, around the world. And there was one company that advertised more than any other company, and it was Coca-Cola. You know why Coca-Cola is the big bear in the whole thing? PepsiCo cannot compete, even though they do. Coca-Cola spent more money than anybody on advertising. Now, I'm not telling you to go spend more money than anybody on advertising, because at the time, the only way to get you out there really was advertising. Right now, we have things at our fingertips. Instagram, Facebook, free videos, reels, every day, super short things. Get out there, have a little fun with it. Let people know that you exist. Do not get depressed and hide. Your business will fail. And I'm pausing on purpose because I don't want your business to fail. I want your business to succeed. The reason I'm doing what I do is because I get a kick out of people succeeding. I think it's the most wonderful thing on earth. The more people succeed, the more money they make, the more they can help people, the more they can do good things with that. It does us no good to not have that. So with all of my heart, I'm inviting you to get out there in more ways than you probably are right now. Even though I know you're probably tired and this is probably a little scary. I don't want it to be scary. It's actually pretty exciting because the ones that are going to be there still standing in 2026 are the people that are doing what I'm telling them to do. Thank you so much for listening. You have been listening to the Thriving Dog Business Podcast with Sherry Boyer, a 7-figure dog business owner. Subscribe to us to get more proven tips to boost your profits without working yourself into the ground. And we have new episodes every other week. To get clear on how to make more money in less time, go to 4dayprofitrace.com to get my exclusive free, very short course.